Welcome back to another episode of Full Circle with me, Onyx. And it's getting serious when I bring out my phoenix feathers. I just love the symbol of the phoenix. It's been a life symbol throughout my life. Uh, it's been a source of inspiration, change, alchemy. So, yeah, pretty high up there on the positive vibes. And, definitely I really connect with it for my higher self, for the light, whatever, right? So let's move on. A lot of people get thrown into the world of metaphysics, whether it's through drugs or whether it's through new age psychic development or just a spontaneous spiritual awakening. All of a sudden they're not in the 3D world where it's just the physical world, but now they're moving into a psychological world of energy and perception and inner worlds, like a limitless place of the mind. So it's almost like where the world of emotions and the world of mind kind of mix and become this infinite space of connecting in ways that just aren't physical. And it tends to get labeled as spiritual or or psychic or multidimensional. The world of spirit is another name for it. Um, And there's levels to this. And a lot of that has to do with where you're at consciously. So you could literally imagine like a grade school, kindergartners, they're sharing the same space with you, but their minds, their development is at a certain way that what they need to do is play and explore, and they're so open and free. So there's gifts with that, but there's also real limitations. Their physical body really can't lift heavy things. Their mind hasn't been trained long enough to understand the equation, to do an equation. So it's almost like they're in their own reality bubble, yet here you are as maybe an adult watching them from your space, with your body, with your knowledge, with your growth, just where you're at now. So that's a really good example of two different types of dimensions or levels of consciousness sharing the same space. And so everyone has a different levels of awareness and consciousness and different skill sets. So, sharing the same space, we're now all in band, learning how to play instruments, and some people are just naturally good at it. They can play three different ones, they really understand sound. While the rest of the class is going, I'm just trying to figure out how this works, or I really don't understand how to read music, or the other person is like, I play by ear. And so we all have different deficiencies, limitations, and then we also have talents, things we're good at and we excel at, and we're almost like hardwired for it. And so some people can move into these other levels of a consciousness with great ease and dexterity, and then others, a majority of us, can't. And so you might find yourself now into the magical world. So, opening the portal, if you've ever played with a Ouija board, you ever tried to summon a spirit with the Necronomicon, or you're really into fiction, these are all portals into this creative space called the astral plane, the magical realm. And, you know, there's so many other things. A hormonal imbalance could do it. an injury could do it, a near death experience. So I would say in New Age religious terms, a near death experience is pretty common to have someone have an awakening. Other people, they might work with their chakras, have a kundalini, or we should say an energy flare, more energy running through the system because something got unblocked. They were doing some breath work, or they were messing around with chakras, or they were doing a meditation, and then boom, that portal is now open. And in a weird way, once that real portal has been opened, it doesn't close down. You have new knowledge, you have new awareness, you're having an experience, and your brain is taking account of it. So you have now expanded your territory. Unfortunately, you don't know how to swim. And so and you're not good at it yet, or you might be really good at it. So you might find out you can swim, you swim out too far, and then you don't know how to get back. And then you can be in jeopardy. Or you just simply don't know how to swim and you sink and you need help and assistance. And so, in the realm of shamanism, which is kind of like a generic term to say within the human experience, the mystical experience is a part of you. And when you develop it or have these things, or you can utilize it towards your benefit, you know, it's a skill set that's inherent in everyone because we are a part, it's just a part of the human experience. The mystical is actually just a part of the human experience. If you specialize in it, you're a shaman. You know, if you have a natural talent towards it, you're a shaman. If that portal was open for you, maybe many lifetimes and continuously, you're kind of a shaman. But it doesn't mean you're a good one. So, just like we could all be in math class, but Einstein was way better than me, but we're still both learning math. So, moving on. So, yes, the portal can be open. Encountering someone who has that portal open could kind of open the portal for you. There's an invitation. So, religion opens that portal. I would say in not exactly a healthy way. Cults open that portal. So if you're reading about how to use tarot, if you're playing with the Ouija board, these are opening the portals. If you're playing with voodoo, if you're hanging out with people that do magic, who understand it, their energy's open to it. You're probably going to have conversations about it. It's going to open you up. So, and you're going to maybe gain a curiosity. That alone can open you up to it. So, when you're not ready for that, you might experience fear. But let's move on. So, back to basics. If you're unstable mentally, playing with magic is dangerous for you because we're starting to find out you're just not in your neighbor's swimming pool. You're venturing farther out and it's an ocean. And you venture farther out and it's planets, a lot of ocean planets. And you venture farther out and it's a universe out there. So bring it back in. Do you really want, so you don't want your whole world to be consumed. You don't want your psychic magical life to overpower your basics, which is living your life, maybe having healthy human relationships, going to work, paying your bills, taking care of your body, and dying in peace. So boundaries become most important. It seems like I have had so many, I don't really want to call them clients, but I've worked with a lot of people for psychic attack, psychic protection, magical attack, magical protection, spell work, and all sorts of stuff. You name it, soul retrieval and beyond. And I would say it's just part of my work that I do, being who I am. And it seems like a boundary wasn't respected. Boundaries with the self. You knew you shouldn't have gone to that party. You knew you shouldn't have been drinking that. You knew you shouldn't have been staying out late. You didn't trust your intuition. You challenged your intuition. You challenged your reason. And you went anyways. You drank more anyways. You lived not in harmony with your soul, with your heart, with your reason, or you gave your power away to that other person. You didn't honor those feelings, and you find yourself in a negative situation. So it's just like if someone maybe wants to murder you, there's usually signals. They're asking, questions. You know, do you have somewhere to go? Are you meeting anyone? And do you want to ride? You know, like just weird questions that are kind of little signals go off, and you're like, why would you ever ask me if I'm meeting someone? Oh, because you're here to disrupt that. So I'm not an ideal candidate for maybe I'm not your target. So you could set yourself up to be a victim by not paying attention and not being aware of yourself and your feelings, not being aware of your time, not being aware. You're just not in your body. You're just not present and aware. So then you make yourself into the perfect target. You love, it's all love. We can just heal them. It's like, did you really notice their behavior? Were you looking at their eyes? Did you see their body fidget? What were they reaching for? Haven't you noticed the timing is off? Why are you just going to go on this long drive in the mountains? Why are you told to leave your phone in the car? Do you see the setup, and do you see how you ignore these signals? You say to yourself, well, I don't want to be rude. Or, why not? What the hey, live on the edge. Or, I trust him. Or, I trust her. You know? And really, you should have a sense of discernment and awareness and presence. And so the tone of voice gives a lot away if you're offending someone or if they're planning. The way they look at you, are they excited like they're tricking you? You know, is, the edges of their mouth are very revealing if they are getting excited because you're falling into their trap, you know. Um, and so just by paying attention, you can avoid a lot of problems. And then you can do also what I call recovery work. So you start to offend someone and you're like, oh, maybe I should really apologize. Yeah, go apologize. Don't wait the next day. So it seems like don't wait while they're still there. Apologize, work it out. Timing is of the essence, because they might then go home and really think about it and then go do a magical spellcraft against you. And so that's time management. So it's like, people say, oh, well, she shouldn't have been wearing that. And it's like, yeah, it's like, don't set yourself up for that. It's like, who are you going to beat up? The person with poor posture or the person with great posture? Probably the person with poor posture. Who are you going to beat up? The person on their cell phone talking and not paying attention, or the person who maybe was on their cell phone, a few sentences, they quickly put it away. While they're on their phone, they're scanning and looking around. That person, probably not. We'll go for the person who's not paying attention, you know? And so pay attention to the vibes during the interactions. Pay attention to your body and how it feels. If you don't feel safe, if you don't like their touch, if you don't like the way they're talking to you, if you don't like the look in their eye, you don't need to understand it all, but go with it. And then later on you could find out you were wrong and you were being silly, and that's great. But so paying attention is going to serve you. And that actually then turns into psychic abilities. When you really tune into your senses, not out, it's when they develop and then go to the next level. It's like heightened sensory awareness, heightened sensory perception leads into full blown psychic ability. So, in the mystic and religious arts, it's the opposite. We're going to turn off your senses and then you're going to be forced to open up a spiritual sense. But that goes into the spiritual realms that have nothing to do with this reality. And I can kind of speak with experience on that one. I was working with my crystal ball, and when it opened up, it blasted it. When I was working with it, it blasted open my third eye, and I was seeing into spiritual realities. But that didn't do but that didn't do me any good. Seeing into another universe didn't help me drive my car better. It didn't balance my checkbook. It didn't answer questions that most people have. Who's the father of my baby? Where did my dead husband hide a stash of cash? Hide a stash of cash? Should I divorce my husband? All these very mundane 3D questions. I'm here with a divine being that would be considered an angel or a god, and they're asking very earth based questions. And this divine being is like, I rotate planets for a living. I don't really know what to do about your dead husband and that so called lost treasure in your basement. Like on the scale of priorities, that wasn't very practical. It wasn't a necessity. So the angel is just looking at me like, what the fuck? It's like, you summons me to answer a question for a human being that, in the big picture is of no consequence. I'm like, I know. I'm like, do I just get up right now? I can't do this anymore. It's like, not even $30 is enough to answer such a dumb question. So, yeah, we have a planet to save. We have a human species to evolve. Where your dead husband's money boxes is not important. You're wasting everyone's time giving a damn about that, right? That's a little tangent. Okay, so to truly open up your third eye, to truly also be able to navigate these spiritual magical realms, awareness. We've drilled that in. Discernment, judgment, education. Get educated. Read about magical attacks. Read about psychic warfare, magical warfare, defenses. And then education expands your mind, your learning. Practice. I don't see a lot of people practicing. I've read a lot, and this one book really caught my attention because it was very boastful. Her and her coven defeated, their magic worked where the occultists failed, was her big thing. And I'm like, this is fiction. Because if an occultist set out to do a magical banishing, it's going to happen if they're a true occultist. Not just someone smoking weed, watching fiction, calling themselves an occultist. Now, if someone is truly trained in the occult and they do something, it's probably going to work. Now, does that mean her coven's magic won't work? No. If it's a true coven and she's a true witch and she's developed, it should work. Why would you have to compare yourself to someone else then make them less than in order to make you and your book seem better? So that was all bullshit. So it's experience. Experience is knowledge. Experience is power. Necessity. When you really need to protect yourself, you learn. So, okay. So yeah, maybe you want to have more experience before you're thrown into that world. And and then even when you are thrown into that world, it really comes back down to basics. So I have a really good friend. She's highly magical and spiritual, yet in her everyday affairs, she's challenging, abrasive, offensive, triggering, and her life is full of magical warfare on the daily. And I'm like, my life isn't like that. It's usually people misunderstanding me or me misunderstanding them. And then it's rarely we get into these magical wars, but then when we do, they're pretty explosive. And and I'm like, it takes energy to fight. It takes energy to recover. So I know my energy levels aren't that high, so I don't want it's not healthy for me. It's not self-love to make a lifestyle out of it. I don't need the intensity. It's not like I need a little bit every now and then, spice of life. Keep my boring life interesting, please. But that's going to come anyways as I explore new horizons and accidentally offend more entities and beings. But so then we have to look at, why are we on the planet? What is our purpose? What's your purpose? Was it really to fight with your neighbors and to prove? Was it really to stay in that dead end job? No. I look at my purpose and it was to connect to higher beings. It was to explore the unknown. So I kind of have to then say people who want to fight are at that level, and people who want to explore are at this level. Like, it's self-knowledge, it's know thyself is kind of like what's going on with me. So I'm like, if this argument, if this fight, if this conflict doesn't create more growth and more personal power, I'm not playing. If this fight and conflict in the end really kind of only benefits you, your ego, your pride, your attitude, maybe, it just seems low class, I don't need to play. You can win. Let's just go our separate ways. Goodbye. You know, here's your $20 or whatever it is. Just get me the F out. So sometimes losing can be the way to win. Lose the argument so you can just shut them up and move on your merry way. Because so I find the more powerful you are, the more you're conscious of keeping your energy and your resources, building them up to fuel the direction you really want to go. So decide right now, who are you? What are your values? And then look at everything else as just meaningless training. It's just polishing the diamond, it's just the grit. It's just grinding on that stone until it's shiny as a piece of glass. It's making you stronger, it's making you sharper. Just think of it as pressuring the diamond. With that attitude, it's all helping you. It's like, yeah, there's so much scum in humanity right now. It doesn't mean it's going to stay that way or that person's going to be that forever. But in the present moment, yeah, maybe you're dealing with someone who's very yucky. Just go, okay, whatever, and then wash it off. And then learn to let it go and get back to you. So, sacred space. Do you really need. So, while you're plotting and planning for revenge, they're in your mind. You're connected to them. So maybe it's best not to do that. Maybe it's better to just cut your losses and move on. A separation. So you need so boundaries are important. You need a sanctuary, that's a space that's just for you. You and whatever you consider God, creative space. So it really shouldn't have other people's belongings in it to mess with the frequency. You need to have a space in your body that's just for you. You need to have a space in your mind that's just for you. So it's like so these are boundaries that are crucial. It's like you need to learn to have a space in your head that's just for you. Not your parents, not your friends, not your boss, not any media. There is a space in your head, in your mind, that's just for you. It's a sanctuary within. You can go there and regenerate. You can go there and focus. You can go and collect your power. You will never be controlled by anyone or thing when you have that space in your mind. You need to have a space in your body. Your body is like a temple. So if you're filling it up with foreign substances that have been handled by other human beings, you're contaminating that. So maybe if you could go to a freshwater spring, gather the water yourself and drink it. Maybe if you can do some purification, take a nice bath, do some yoga, do some energy work, have a space just for you. I have a space that's just for the gods within my body. I designate a certain space, a certain vertebrae that is for the gods. So they have an access point because that's the work that I'm doing. I work with deities. That is their little space inside of my body. That's the gateway. And it's been that way for like 20 years. And so because that space has been hollowed out for them, that's theirs. That's the launch pad. It's where the plane takes off and lands. It's like that sacred channeling space. I have a place in my heart. It's there for me, and it's there to connect with the world at a higher level. That's the level I will connect with in my heart space. And so that's a boundary, and that's based on my values. That's based on my own moral compass. So you have to do some inner work. Why do you even want to have sacred space in your mind? Why do you want to think for yourself? Why do you need space for no thoughts? Sacred space in your mind. Why in your heart? Why in your body? And then it needs to go out even further. You need to have, wherever you live, you need to have a physical space where the boundaries are set, the energy is set, the room is set, and it's just yours. So the world's in chaos. You can physically get to your special space. It could also be out in nature, a special tree. It's because it's yours and it has your energy signature. It's already aligned with you. And so anything that's not you is really clear. When you step into that space and you're bringing something that's not you, it's crystal clear and you can push it out, especially if you truly own that space. So your aura is a part of your space. Own it. That's your energy field. When you truly own your energy field, you're not going to get psychic parasites. You're not going to get psychic invasion. So boundaries, simple boundaries. It's like, what do you do for your aura? Smudge, do energy sprays, like essential oil sprays, sunlight, bathe, shower. What do you do for your inner body? Fast, eat clean, go vegan every once in a while or all the time. Purify, eat high frequency foods. That's how you cleanse the physical temple. Exercise. What do you do for your emotions? I work on my heart chakra. I love, I care, I have a pet, I cuddle. I listen to music that inspires love. What do you do for your mind? Don't think so much. Don't overthink. Meditate, zen out. And then put in enriching, powerful content. Read a book on something that you want to learn. Obviously, right now, channeling, or psychic abilities or something spiritual, something that's going to elevate you and make you think deeper. Like astrology isn't hurting anybody, so I'll study and listen to astrology. It's not gossip. It's not world affairs. It's not drama. It's not horror movies. So what are you putting into your mind? So purification is kind of boundaries. So when you really start to talk to people, so my last client, after talking with her, she's like, well, maybe I shouldn't have been drinking so much. And I'm like, maybe not. Maybe that weakened you enough with your hormonal imbalance that parasite from that other dimension got into your body, has now been messing with your mind. So I'm glad you came to that conclusion and then also revealed that other factor that you never brought into your story. So I'm like, yeah, I don't drink. I don't really smoke. I try to live a clean life for the very fact that I'm all about working with my energy field. So the healing factor is a lot easier if I get myself into trouble. So we'll end this video here.